Hi, and welcome back to the Expired Podcast by Macy Bookout and Natalie Gard. This is our first ever 3-part series on one case, one episode. The case is of the Solomon family. If you did not hear episode 1, go back and watch or listen now.
Tell me when.
When?
Winner chicken.
We have to laugh sometimes
we
because
do.
all we do is talk about serious stuff, and we're
Yes.
so bubbly in
Yeah,
our
and
personality.
goofy. Yeah, we got to get the goofiness out because then it gets real serious.
Yeah, it does.
All right, guys, welcome back to our Expired Podcast. This is episode 2, so thanks for listening yesterday. Today we're going to cover Gracie, the daughter's timeline, and then be sure to come back tomorrow for episode 3, where we get into Grant's timeline and a lot more about the actual accident and Grant's death. So
there's a lot to go over with this case, obviously. I mean, the first episode was an hour. I assume this one will be close to that, and tomorrow's episode will be close to that. And I don't know why I just feel so connected. I don't want to say I love this case, but I feel so connected to this case. Maybe because of like my past experiences, or maybe it's because I've actually talked to Angie on the phone and like have connected with her.
I think too that it's like current, obviously a lot of the timeline started years ago, but this is a very recent situation as far as Grant's death. And then I think the fact that it hasn't even really been investigated as a murder or investigated that as far as any crime being committed really pulls at us, because we have strong feelings about what we believe happened. And yeah, I mean, we're not far removed from when it actually happened. So,
I know.
And then I think obviously talking with Angie and having her and Gracie like on board with this.
Yeah.
I don't know, it just changes everything.
It makes it so, it's not that other cases aren't real, but it just seems
personal.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So all are proven, or all are innocent until proven guilty.
Yep.
No one has been charged for any of this. There's been no true investigation. All of this is alleged. We may sprinkle in our opinion here and there, but we'll make that clear that it's our opinion. It's not fact. We're going to try and strictly go on the facts. So we're going on the facts of like Gracie and Grant's timeline. And this goes from 2011 to 2021.
If there's something that there is like audio or video or a court order, we will obviously state that, because at that point it is fact and not our opinion. But yeah, anything that refers to a crime being committed is all allegation and
all alleged. Yeah.
And we're going to try not to like say allegedly or made allegations like 1,000 times.
I know, but we want to keep ourselves safe.
Right.
Like, this is an ongoing case, and we have right to be cautious.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we're just saying it right now that everything, if it's our opinion, we will state that it is our opinion, and just get used to hearing the word allegedly.
It's our favorite word.
Yeah.
So let's start in 2011. And if you listen to our last episode, we went a little bit further than that, but we tried to focus only on Angie and Aaron. So we're talking about Angie, Aaron, Grant, and Gracie Solomon, Franklin, Tennessee. We're going to start in 2011. So
I will say, if you haven't listened to the first, like part 1 episode from yesterday, go listen to that first. And also another disclaimer, I feel like I say this, especially when it has to do with kids, but I most definitely would listen to all 3 of these episodes by yourself first before you listen to it, say like in the car with your kids in the car, just because we do talk about some pretty serious things that, just giving you a heads up. You might not really feel like hearing your kids ask about it or wonder about it yet.
Right.
So listen to it first before you really expose them to it.
Trigger warning.
Mhm.
This is your warning.
Yep.
So we're going to start in 2011 to paint the picture. Aaron and Angie are still married. Gracie is now 5 years old, and Grant should be about 9 years old. They're about 4 years apart. This is the first incident where
That we
people
hear
around,
Yeah.
people around Gracie are starting to get concerned, but just because of what she said. And you made a good point about the language that a 5-year-old might use.
Yeah. In this case, the first allegation or the first thing that is being talked about or discussed as it pertains to any sort of abuse or sexual abuse is Gracie saying that her dad puts soap in her and it burns. Even if you don't have kids, children wouldn't use that term, in me. And as females, we also discussed that, like, when you're younger, you do learn, like, okay, you have to wash yourself in your private area in a specific way and possibly even specific soaps, because some does create irritation, some does burn. There are certain things you do and do not do with the soap. I feel like that's just a part of life as a girl.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you'd learn it.
This reminds me so much, like, this is probably way too much TMI. My mom, like, when I was her age and I was taking a bath and learning, like, how to shower myself, I loved bubble baths. They were my thing. But I got out of the bath one day and I was like, Mom, my vagina is on fire.
Yeah.
Killing me. I found out I was allergic to Mr. Bubble.
Yes. Oh no. That would be terrible as a kid.
Yeah, so she taught me how to, like, shower after that. But this reminds me of that. Like,
you learn.
I would say my pee-pee has out, how I called it, burns.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't say anything other than that. And the fact that she uses the word in, I think, is very prominent.
Not around, not washing me, not use this in the shower or the bath, like, because all of that is normal language. But for a child to say someone puts soap in me and it burns, that's not. Now, I don't mean to say that saying that just means that this is what happened.
Exactly.
But that's very odd vocabulary.
This is when suspect went up in the people around Gracie.
Yes. And I would also go as far, this is my opinion, to say that if a child came to me and said something like that to me, I think the delivery, the tone in which it was told to me would have a lot to do with how I felt about it.
The amount of urgency.
Yeah, and or fear, things like that. Like, a lot goes into that.
How you would feel after you heard that.
Yes. So I think, obviously, this is the first time people around them are even, flags are even being raised.
Right. Because allegedly, at this time, Aaron was the only one to bathe Gracie.
Which is another flag for me, too.
Yeah.
He had to bathe Gracie.
Yeah.
No one else, not her mom.
He always...
Like, he had to be the one to bathe her, which
is weird. That beyond weird, I think. It would, if that happened to me and I'm, like, trying to picture myself with a husband and 2 kids, and is weird, but I don't know that all the red flags are going off at the same time for anyone to get any kind of help. That's what I'm getting at.
I feel that too. So some of the people at the school obviously are learning about this first, flag being raised as well in the incident that Gracie is sharing. And in my opinion, more importantly, the school counselors know about this or have been told, and they don't report it. They don't look into it further. It's almost as if they just never heard it. And it automatically, they just believed that either it didn't happen or that it did happen and they don't want to do anything about it, which is also not cool. Like,
seems like they were
shame
trying
on
to
them.
like keep it quiet,
Mm-hmm.
not get into
Protect the image.
Yeah.
Then moving into like May of 2013, and again, yes, in yesterday's episode, the Angie Aaron kind of timeline, when we discussed the allegations of suicide versus strangulation, and then like being on a psych hold and just all that going on. Leading up to that, for a good while, I would say even before 2013, but up until May of 2013, before their divorce, the kids, so Grant, Gracie, and Angie, all three of them would sleep in the master bedroom together and like lock the door purposely to keep Aaron away from them.
Right. They would like, I remember when I was like 19 and I was like going through mental health issues, I slept with my mom in her bed. Like
it's the comfort
Yeah.
thing. Yeah. And I think
that screams a lot that
It
they're like
does.
looking for that comfort.
I'd say all three of them, you know, like,
Yes. And just like knowing that you're locked inside and you're safe
and you're together.
Yeah.
Yeah. That says volumes to me.
And then
Because keep in mind, I mean, in 2013, he is at this point 11 or 12 years old. Like,
he's starting
not
to
that
get it.
not that Bentley wouldn't like want to sleep, make a pallet in the floor or something, but like, he is a safe home and he knows his siblings are safe and he knows I'm safe. You know, he wants nothing to do with coming in the master bedroom, locking the door with me and Jade and Maverick.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like for the girl, it's a little like, I slept in the bed with my mom. Like, we would go fall asleep and my dad would just move me. But I just think for that age, for a boy, like,
Yeah.
it's very clear they felt most comfortable together.
Yeah.
And
all together and
locked away from
100%.
harm. Yeah.
Yeah. So after that is when all of the suicide happened. So they start locking themselves in the bedroom about May 2013. By August of 2013, things have come to a head. Listen to our last episode.
Yeah. Go back and listen to the first episode about that.
I feel like things are all coming to a head, whether it be like Angie and the kids are like, okay, this is not right. This is bad. I feel like their school, their church are all...
No one's protecting them. No one's fighting for them.
Right. But they're putting feelers out to get help.
Right. Yes. 100%. In like the safest way that victims feel like they can. Like, hey, A, B, C, and then like, okay, I need your help. And then it's just nothing is coming for them. Nothing is happening for them. All the people they're supposed to be able to trust, like a pastor at a church, police officers, counselors,
teachers.
No one is doing anything.
No one's doing a damn thing.
That would feel so helpless.
Yeah. And this goes on for years. I mean, this is 2013. We're almost 10 years from that. And this case is still going on.
Like, our timeline thing goes all the way from 2011.
We should post all three pictures of our board that we have. We have like a board that like reminds us of stuff.
Like, helps us stay on track.
Yeah.
So we're not rustling through like papers and stuff.
And
but
notes.
There's a lot.
There's a lot. And at this time in 2013, late 2013, it's becoming so big at the church slash school that the headmaster of the school, his name's Robbie Mason, the headmaster says, hey, to all of the Solomon teachers, to
Like
all of
school
the
staff,
counselors,
yeah.
all staff, if there is an issue with the Solomon kids, come to me and I'll handle it. And
yeah, basically, like, don't even entertain it. Just let me know what's going on, and then that's where your role in this stops, and
Yeah.
I'll take over. And by that, basically, from what I understand, he does nothing ever but just continue to help brush things under the rug and
take the mom off of the email.
yeah.
You said
So then he
this,
takes the mom off of the email list. Okay,
which
so
is illegal. You
it
told
is
me.
illegal.
I didn't know. I'm
It
not a
is
mom.
so illegal. Oh my gosh, that is so illegal. There has to be a court order and a sort of like almost like a restraining order. Like something has to be in place where she cannot know anything about the kids, have any information of them, when and where they might be somewhere, all that stuff. Like there has to be a court order.
Yeah.
That is illegal. And he took her off of everything, all communication to do with the school and the church that the kids attend.
Yeah. That she probably helps pay for. And that's crazy. That is crazy.
Yep.
So 2013, 14, and 15 are kind of a blur just because things get buried. Things get buried in all sorts of places, and there's just so much information in these 3 years because they're getting divorced, they're battling custody, they're getting attorneys, they're doing all of these things. So it's a little we don't have a lot of we have a lot of information, but we don't have exact dates between these years.
I think the main things that were happening were, okay, Aaron has custody. So Gracie and Grant live with him for the first year or so. Angie, there's a restraining order, and then she is granted 2 hours of visitation a week that is supervised. After that, she is then awarded like 6 hours a week of supervised visitation.
And it just grows from there.
Yes, certain things are happening as far as like restraining orders, orders of protection,
visitation.
And Angie the whole time is trying to talk to the sheriff, trying to talk to school officials or counselors. She's trying to obtain attorneys. She's doing everything that she possibly can to help her kids and get them out of a situation that she knows and understands as just brutal
and toxic.
Yes, and
in the
abusive.
last episode we learned that she kind of grew up in a very controlled environment as a kid.
Hostile upbringing for sure.
Mm-hmm. Side note here, we record our podcast at the Things That Matter office. So we are under construction. We're going to move around a little bit and find the most comfortable spot for our podcasting. So in 2018, after all of this had happened, there was a recording of a principal and school counselor who were caught on video. We have the audio and we'll play it for you, talking about sexual abuse, how other students had been coming to them asking what that was. Just a lot of talks about the Solomon kids and what all this is. This is a Christian Southern school.
That's what they're calling it anyways.
Macy's Steeman.
Yeah. So I don't like when people hide behind faith or religion, especially when everything they're doing goes against, like, I'm like, are you reading the same Bible I am? Because no, you're not.
Yeah.
If you've ever, I don't even feel like they have read the Bible.
Over the weekend that said, my child came to me and asked me, what is sexual abuse? Where is this coming from? Mm-hmm. So a lot of kids are being affected by what she's gone through and what she's telling people, and then they're so young. We're talking about 10 and 11-year-olds, you know, so they don't know what to do with it, and then they go tell somebody else, and then it's like, I just don't want it to like become the talk of the school or to grow a life of its own. We want to,
for her
how
sake.
do we contain this so that, for her sake, number one, because it isn't just about 6th grade for her. This is, you know what I mean? These are her peers all the way up. And so I don't want something that's going to be detrimental to her, that's going to fall. She's not thinking of the future. She's thinking of right now, you know. But I'm thinking of the future and how this is going to follow her with her peers, you know. And then I also have to think about other students who are now, you know, having to deal with this
We were trying to
with their
squash
parents.
that as
Right.
far as like, we don't want other students then going and talking to
So I did ask her.
other students.
Yeah, who have you told, you know? And I didn't say, who have you told that your dad sexual abused? I didn't use that word. I didn't say that in front of her. I just said, who have you talked to about this, you know? Yeah, and we kind of played dumb, like, you know, I don't want to tell them anything that they don't know. I just said, you know, this is not something that you need to repeat. You know, please don't tell anybody. Don't go talk. At least 3 boys know, and several girls, and I'm really concerned because they don't know what to do with it. They, you know,
that like
how sensitive it says.
yes, how sensitive that it is.
And that's, you know, and that's what we tried to talk to Gracie about. It's like, you need to choose who you talk to about this very carefully.
She hears what we're trying to say and that we're trying to help. So I was, you know, I don't know if that's really how she felt. I'm not sure, but
No.
okay.
We as a group help, you know, contain this. I mean,
In her aging process, started to have confliction and confusion about what had happened, what was currently happening, what was not being stopped when she asked for it to be stopped, and what is this? And why do I feel weird, dirty, alone? Why do I feel like something's wrong with me? So that's her trying to process what we know is a label, what she doesn't understand. So you got that, and I think it just became, I don't know how it could have not become, but like I said, it's affecting Grant too. So what's going on here at school is affecting him back terribly. I really don't know what to say other than I need to think about this. I've worried about it since she was 5. So, I worry about today, I worry about tomorrow, and Lord willing, I worry about when she's 40 or 50.
Then discussing how there are 10 and 11-year-olds now asking about sexual abuse, like what is sexual abuse? What does that mean? How asking, you know, who Gracie had talked to about this and who all she had talked to or told about this, that they asked her to please not tell anyone else and that this is not something you need to repeat because it will follow her in the future and have a bad impact on her reputation.
Quote, boys will not like her if
Yes.
they know.
The boys won't like her, and they're starting to find out that this is so sensitive that you need to choose very carefully who you talk to about this. And then they go on to state things like, we as a group need to contain this. It has to stop. And they're not talking about the abuse.
They're talking
That
about
has to stop. They
talk
are talking
of the-
about people talking about it. So basically, we have to end this conversation and stop letting anyone know about this, or her, Gracie, asking for help, basically,
or talking about it at all to anybody she's supposed to trust.
Yep. And then they even make a comment about Grant, saying this is affecting Grant too, because, and they say what's going on in the school. Like, so Gracie reaching out for help, kids finding out about it, people are talking about it. They say it's affecting Grant too. You don't think it's affecting him at home?
Mm-hmm.
Like, he knows it's affecting him. Duh.
Yeah.
Of course it's affecting him as
Mhm.
well. What do you mean?
Yeah.
If I could kick people in the throat and get away with it,
It's mind-blowing. It honestly is, because as I know, as you know, as everyone in the state of Tennessee who has care of children, preschool, church, schools, coaches, they all are mandated to report these things.
Yes.
And it's failed and failed and failed in this
Yep.
case.
And I think that sometimes that's where people who are not in those positions, it's easy to think like, okay, they just failed to investigate, they failed to figure it out. No. Counselors, school administrators, coaches, any adult that is responsible or a part of any child or minor's life, you don't have to go investigate, but you are required to report it to people that is their job to do that.
Mhm.
And they might investigate something and it turns out that it in fact is not abuse and nothing bad is going on.
But you covered your
do
ass.
your job
Yes.
in reporting something, because God forbid something terrible is happening.
Mhm. Yeah.
I will never understand this.
I know.
And if I do understand it, then that means I'm just as evil and backwards as they are.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, we don't have the same brain.
no.
We just don't have the same brain. So all of this is coming out in 2018. This is when a huge part of the case happens. This is when they're still dealing with the divorce and battling with custody. Aaron has primary, so he is taking Grant and Gracie to a baseball tournament. Of course, they live in Franklin. This is either North or South Carolina on
Did we
the
talk about the
the
bedroom
edge.
locks?
The what?
Bedroom locks?
Yeah, we talked about that.
We did?
Mm-hmm.
There's just
Oh, the bedroom locks individually?
Yeah.
We just talked about the master.
Okay.
So go into the bedroom.
So from 2016, 2018, like we were just discussing, like a bunch of stuff is happening from the standpoint of like Angie trying to get help, trying to get attorneys, whatever. Did we cover the forensic interview?
No.
Okay. So in like July, well, from 2013 to 2018, while Aaron has primary custody, he has the kids, Gracie and Grant's bedroom locks altered. So Grant's bedroom, his door lock is on the exterior of the door.
Like in the hallway, you lock it.
Yeah. So from the bedroom, you cannot lock and unlock. But from outside the bedroom, you can lock. So basically, if you're trying to lock something in somewhere, that's how Grant's bedroom lock is. So if he's in his bedroom and Aaron wants to lock the door, then Grant is just stuck in his room.
Mm-hmm.
Gracie's bedroom door lock is on the inside of the door. So if Gracie is in her room, she can lock the door. Or if Aaron is in Gracie's room, he can lock the door and no one from the outside can get in.
Mm-hmm. Double locks. Hello.
More red flags.
Yeah.
Then moving into like July 2018, Angie finally acquires an attorney for herself, her kids, all the things. She gets a forensic interview with Sheriff Jeff Long.
And he's important in this case. He's the person who oversees all of the police officers in this area at this time.
Mm-hmm. All
the way up until, recently. So he is going to be a big part of it. And we'll just refer to him as the sheriff. Just easier.
CASA, which is basically like DCS or CPS, Child Protective Services, they are called in, obviously, because of this interview, and no issues are reported, even though Grant and Gracie shared everything with them. So basically, nothing happens. Again,
Aaron is a master manipulator. I feel like he probably got in there right away, knew what was going on, knew how to brush over it.
Yep.
And CASA was on their way. I know.
Gracie's decision.
Well, I am because I just want to have our interaction, but I want my office to be a scene.
Well, I believe that every time it comes up, it's been a possible scene because things have not been.
This is my suggestion, is that I'll talk to Gracie, I'll tell her that you're going to follow to the doctor, you'll get the doctor appointment over with, and that she's going to go to her birthday party after that. And then we'll get whatever paperwork and all that figured out next week. Is that,
I mean, I'm kind of on the odd out with you without having paperwork with you. So, in order to keep this
calm, and I think she'll be okay if I explain all that to her.
Is it okay? Can I drive her down there?
No. I'll drive her down there. But you can follow, as she said.
I just go right along to their appointment. Okay.
Well, again, if she agrees, because Gracie didn't go with me in Thursday night. So we really have to consider her.
I am trying to. That's why we're here right now, because I'm going to consider it. Okay, thank you.
So, and along with that statement, some of the other things that we don't necessarily have like exact dates for, but we do know that it was at some point in 2018, and most of this was like June, July, August, September timeframe. Aaron forces Gracie to let him take her to the OBGYN.
I know.
So he won't
play
let
that video.
Yeah,
too.
he won't let the mom take her. The school officials, Gracie is actually like hiding from him at the school,
Locked in the office.
and like texting her mom,
Yes.
saying, "Do not make me go with him. Do not make me go with him."
And so both parents rush to the school and they're talking to the counselor who their daughter is locked in her office.
And ultimately, they proceed to allow Aaron to take her to the OBGYN. I wonder why someone would require for them to be the adult that takes a kid to a doctor's appointment that has to do with private areas.
Unless it's court. It's not?
No.
I
And
don't know
also, pretty sure when you're at the OBGYN, like even if you're a minor,
you should have a parent or.
Well, you can have a parent there, but
you can say no.
Unless you ask for the parent to come inside the room, no, it should just be you and the doctor.
She might have been scared and was like, "No, I don't want anyone." And Aaron was like, "This is all speculation, opinion." But maybe he seems to be very forceful and narcissistic and can get his way, like manipulate the situation.
In my opinion, I think he was the one that had to take her to said appointment because he was afraid that she would tell her doctor what had been going on.
Yeah.
Or if it was an exam, the doctor might have seen trauma and he wanted to be able to shut it down immediately. Right. Yeah. He also, at this point, anytime that he is basically forcing her to go with him, he consistently threatens her with, like, I'm going to call the police, and then you're going to have to go with the police, and basically scaring her with law enforcement. When I don't agree with this at all either, because I wouldn't want my kids to be afraid of people
police
that are supposed to be there to help them.
Exactly.
So why are you instilling fear basically with every adult or person in her life that can help her? You're making her afraid of them.
It's probably the narcissistic complex of I need to eliminate or get fear in every other person in this
Fear on my side.
Yes, fear on my side. You come to me for all these things.
So into August 2018, the ongoing custody battle is still happening.
Trigger warning.
Yeah.
Sexual abuse.
Go for it.
If you don't like it, click away. We totally understand.
Come back in 5 minutes.
Yeah, seriously. So during this time, they're in this custody battle, and of course, all their kids' sports are still going on. So Aaron has custody. He is taking Grant and Gracie, his kids, to a baseball tournament, and he was gonna stay with the kids the whole time during this baseball tournament, but he leaves Grant because he has to come back to Tennessee for a custody hearing with his wife, Angie. And during this trip, she begged not to go.
She wanted to stay with Grant.
Yeah, just stay with Grant, stay with Mom. I don't care if I even go to this tournament. I just want to not be with you alone.
Yeah.
So on the trip out there, they drop Grant off. They watch a couple games, whatever. They're heading back. And Aaron decides to stop about halfway and get a hotel in North Carolina.
First of all, North Carolina is not far away from Tennessee.
No.
We actually border each other. So
I know.
Just saying.
It's not that far of a trip either.
I have driven to North Carolina
in a day.
And South Carolina so many ways and so many places all over both states. I have never had to stop
and get a hotel.
Never. Not one time.
Never. And according to Gracie, she requested that there be 2 bedrooms. It's just her and her dad.
Or at least 2 beds, I think.
Yeah, 2 beds, not 2 bedrooms. 2 beds in the room. Even at that age, I wouldn't want to sleep in the same room with my father. No.
No, and if we have to sleep in the same room, fine, but definitely 2 beds.
Yeah.
I mean, like, my dad would have been like, okay, you can have the bed, I'll sleep on the floor.
Couch or whatever.
Yes.
I slept in the bathtub at some point because I just did not want to sleep in the same room as your parent of the opposite sex.
Yeah.
It's weird. So she requested to her father, please let there be 2 beds. And of course they get there and there's only 1 bed. And according to Gracie, this is when the alleged rape happens. She had, in previous times, last episode you can hear, her dad would give her a special drink at night. And she wouldn't remember what happens in the morning, but she would be sore or just like lethargic, not remembering exactly what happened, confused.
Would have like trauma, like bruises, soreness in and around the private area.
You know when.
Yep.
Yeah. If you're a girl, you know.
Yep.
You just know. You can feel it. It's different.
Everything is different.
Yes.
100%.
So this all happens. And then we get into her telling her mom, and her mom has had enough and was like, I've got to.
I think at this point her mom was like, we will run to Canada if we have to. Like,
I've got to.
Something has to happen.
And she gets an emergency petition for dependency neglect.
Yes. So at this point, Grant and Gracie now are in the care of her, in the custody of her. And at the same time, the kids are, CASA files, had filed a specific report to get them, I think particularly Gracie, a guardian ad litem, which is basically someone who represents the best interest of the child, not the mom, not the dad, not the family. It's basically like
a lawyer for your kid.
Yeah, or someone that can hire an attorney for your kid, because it doesn't need to be in the hands of all the adults that are involved in this mess.
Right.
Like, the only thing they're supposed to be worried about is what is in the best interest of the child. And their health and safety, basically.
And there was a lot of drama with that. Like, there was a person assigned at the very beginning
who filed the report because she
had concerns.
She did her job.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of other people that apparently don't do their job, but she did. and she got in trouble for
She
it
got in trouble for it, and
and taken off the case.
Yep, and it was given to someone else, and
It was given to the head of employees
CASA.
at CASA, and
buried.
And just for future, I'm I'm telling you what happens in the future. That same person that took the person off the case who actually did their job and reported it, in 2021, she actually testified in court against Gracie, Grant, and Angie, and on the side of Aaron.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that.
By 2020,
we need boxing gloves.
I know we do. We need like a stress relief. We need like those stress balls that we can just squeeze every time we get aggravated.
I have boxing gloves and a punching bag. I might bring them here.
Yes, set it up.
Because
get some aggression.
I'm so angry.
I know. Well, we're about done with this episode. Don't forget that we will have another episode tomorrow. This is our first ever 3-part series. So in 2018, she is dealing with more legal stuff, Angie, when it comes to neglect of a minor. By 2020, Gracie finally is able to get a restraining order on her father, which means we talked about this in episode 1, the difference between a restraining order and an order of protection. Restraining order is a little bit less than an order of protection.
A restraining order is more or less like 50 feet difference, but you can be in the same building. You can be in the same...
Which he did.
Thing. Yes, he did.
He would still call games at the school.
Yep, he would contact her.
Yes.
So restraining order, you can't contact. You can't. There's a physical amount of space that has to be between you, but you can still, if you go eat at a restaurant and that person has a restraining order against you is also eating at the restaurant, if they're on one side, you can sit way over here over 100 feet away, and you're not breaking anything.
Mm-hmm.
You're allowed to do that. Order of protection, if you are eating somewhere and the person who has an order of protection against you walks in, you have to remove yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Not them. You have to remove yourself. Also, usually restraining orders go both ways. So if someone files a restraining order against you, you have the option to file one against them as well, so that they can't use it to their benefit.
Right.
So it can't be misconstrued. So usually they go both ways, no matter what. Order of protection usually does not. It is also, if you break it, you go straight to jail.
Yeah, it's a lot
for an order
worse.
of protection. So a restraining order does help in some ways and is good in some ways, but I don't even feel like if it was an order of protection, I still think he would have broke it. So,
I know.
And no adults were trying to protect her anyways. So
I know, because the judge in
Besides
this
her
case,
mom.
I know, I love Angie.
I know, bless her heart.
The judge in this case says to Angie, you can no longer file in my court when it comes to this case, this divorce, this, neglect, this anything
against Aaron at all.
For 72 months and or 6 years.
72 months, that is a long time.
Gracie will be 20.
I'm not good at math, but 12, 24, 36, 48.
It's 6 years. It's insane.
And she still has a minor child with this man.
I know. So that all happened in 2020. Now, by July of 2020, this is when Grant's death happens. And there is
2020 or 2021?
No, it's 2020.
Okay.
July 20th, 2020.
COVID year, man.
Yeah. He had actually gotten COVID. He had COVID just like a few weeks before all of this happened. And he was kind of apprehensive to go to even batting practice.
Mm-hmm.
He and his dad are supposed to meet at batting practice.
And he had not seen his dad in like months.
A long time.
At this point.
Right.
A very long time.
And he was kind of scared about it. He wasn't feeling that great coming off of COVID.
He had just turned 18.
Turned 18, just probably graduated. Like, a lot of things are happening, and he doesn't really know if he wants to go to practice, but he ends up going anyway. He's
also being recruited by D1 schools for baseball.
Yeah.
So I'm sure he still felt like crap from COVID. and probably did want to have to see Aaron.
Mm-hmm.
But when you have D1 recruits, like,
You're
or
thinking about
D1
college.
staff, like, recruiting you, you're showing up at everything you possibly can.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that meeting is when Grant passes away.
Yeah.
So,
He is unalived on July 20th, 2020. It is a Monday morning. He's meeting his dad at this complex to practice pitching and baseball, all these things. And from Aaron's account, he says he pulls in first. He's checking his work emails. He sees Grant pull in, and this is just a synopsis because there's a lot.
based on what Aaron says.
Exactly, because he's the only person to witness this or be in the area at the time. He is reading his emails. He sees Grant pull up. He sees Grant get his stuff out of the back seat and
Goes back to his phone to
Yep.
answer emails. Oh,
And-
get his stuff out of the bed of the truck.
yes. And all of a sudden, the truck is down the hill and into the ditch, all in a matter of seconds of them pulling up and getting out and getting ready to go in.
Yep. I feel like we should stop it there because if we get into it, we're
I know,
gonna
it's
get
gonna take
into
forever.
it.
I know we kind of teased it last time, but there's just so much to go over with the parents' timeline, the kids' timeline, the school, all the allegations. It's
Mhm.
maybe more than 3 parts. I mean,
Yeah.
we may have to just put it down and come back to it later.
No, that's what I was thinking too, because
Take a mental
it's
day.
become so like just crazy
Mhm.
web of awfulness and bullshit
Yes.
that I don't understand.
Can we trademark that? Awfulness and bullshit?
Yeah, awfulness and bullshit. Like, take your pick.
How about both? We also wanted to use our platform to add Gracie's vlog. You can find the full video on YouTube or in the link below. Follow their YouTube page, Freedom for Gracie. But this is from Gracie by Gracie.
My name is Gracie Solomon. I'm 14 years old, and I'm here to tell my story. I just want to say before we get into any of this that it's coming straight from me. It's all me, and no one else is telling me what to do. My brother died protecting me from my father, Aaron Solomon. My father's a monster. It makes me want to vomit. I've been minimalized, but now I've found my voice to be able to tell you that my father raped me, hurt me, and I'm not going to be a victim of this monster. He's a rapist, he's a molester, he's a liar, and he's a killer. I hate my dad. I'm absolutely terrified of him for everything he has done to me, my brother, and my mom. I don't want to call him my dad anymore. He's never listened to me. He has hurt me sexually, physically, and mentally. He has caused so much pain for my family. He has tried to manipulate me and has manipulated others, and it has worked. Ever since I was born, my dad has done awful things to me. First, he never let my mom bathe me. It was always him. So by not letting my mom come in at all, it meant that he could do anything to me. I would always tell my mom I felt like I was more like a wife to him instead of his daughter. He would always bring his phone into the bathroom with him. At the time, I didn't know it, but I strongly believe he was taking pictures and videos. I had to learn to hide my body from him by flipping my hair over because he wouldn't leave me alone while I was showering or getting out. He would make excuses like me needing a towel or my hair was hard for me to wash on my own. So he would be able to help me. He was a sick person. After showering, he would sit me down in his lap with only a towel to brush my hair. He brushed through my hair so aggressively I would sometimes cry. I had terrible scars from that, and they are still somewhat visible. I even remember taking a bath as a young kid, probably first grade, and him washing me with a Dove bar soap completely up and inside of my privates. I know now that it was probably his hand, but I was too young to know any better. All of my grandparents knew about the abuse and still supported him. When I was at his house at night, I would sometimes feel like I couldn't control my body, or I would get sleepy and wake up in my dad's bed. One night, I woke up with rashes on my inner thighs, both, and my privates also burned frequently. One of Grant's friends remembers looking over the upstairs railing and seeing my head slung over, and Dad wrapping me in his lap. Sorry. Every night, my dad would lock his bedroom door. Sometimes I was sick or crying, most of the time probably missing my mom so much, and I would bang on his door and scream for him. He never answered. While I lived with him in 4th grade, I practically broke my back by falling and hitting the edge of a concrete culvert and big rocks. It was almost impossible to walk for a while. He didn't care enough to even take me to the doctors. I have records now of how bad my back was injured, 3 years later from the incident. In the car, if we said something that made him mad, he would speed up really fast, and it would scare me and Grant. Dad is super manipulative and has manipulated so many people. He even tries to convince me that I am being brainwashed by my mom and everything I remember never happened. He tries to scare me into thinking my mom's house is unsafe. He knows how scared I am of robberies and kidnapping or getting taken from my mom. In fact, he took me away from my mom for years when I was just ending my kindergarten year. Later on, he told me that I was never going back to my mom and that she was actually dead. I don't remember when I found out that she was alive, but I know Grant and I both believe she was dead for years because of him. One time at my grandparents' house, my dad's parents, I remember hearing my grandpa say to Grant that he wanted to kill my mom. It made Grant so mad he started throwing stuff in the room. And I was so hurt and started crying. After I was finally able to start seeing Mom again, my dad got mad because we didn't want to leave her. When the cops showed up, they told Grant and I that we had to leave in the cop car and Mom couldn't be the one to take us. They said my dad specifically asked for us to be taken in the cop car so we would learn to not disobey him again. My mom filed for an emergency court hearing to get us back. We were in North Carolina for one of Grant's baseball tournaments when my dad said we had to go back home for court. It was only my dad and I. Grant stayed. We stopped at a hotel room in Asheville. My dad only got one bed when I had asked for 2. It made me really nervous before we even got in a hotel room. When we went to bed, I remember him slowly getting closer to me until I was on the edge of the bed. I kept waking up by feeling his feet rub against mine. I kept waking up and then finally realized I felt something hard on my lower back, close to my butt. I drew an illustration of what it was like. I felt really scared and knew it was wrong. At court, Dad's attorney got inches away from my face and tried to manipulate me into thinking what my dad did to me didn't really happen by saying, "Do you really think your dad would do something like that? Do you actually remember that happening?" He was so close to me that I could smell his cigarette breath, and his tone really scared me. When I learned I had to go back to North Carolina with my dad, I was completely broken and didn't want to stop hugging my mom. He told my dad to pull me off of her and leave because he could. I eventually was able to go to family therapy, sometimes with my dad and Grant. One time I told Grant he could leave the room because he would always be there for me. I told him I was terrified of him being at my school and trying to get me. He got so mad. He reached to throw a chair at me, but ended up storming out of the room. He was screaming and his face was blood red. My counselor tried to calm him down. Through therapy, I have set boundaries with my dad so that I would feel better. Over the past couple of years, he has respected my boundaries, surprisingly. Now, ever since Grant passed, he ignores everything I have said. He is trying to force me to come live with him this Sunday. I am so terrified of him. I'm so scared. I can't go in general or without Grant. I'm not going. I begged him in counseling to never do this, and he promised me he would never try to take me again. He is a liar. I'm so scared of Dad. I've seen him do terrible things to people I love and myself. Because of this, I strongly believe he killed Grant, and now he's going to kill me. Grant and my dad never had a good father-son relationship because of my dad. Dad would always harm, threaten, scare, and stress Grant out so badly. Before my dad took us from my mom, Grant and I were scared of Dad because of his ridiculous and terrifying behavior. From trying to kill my mom and constantly yelling at her, to freaking us out from all the things he has done to us and our mom. When he took us, he was just as mean and hurtful as he is now. One of the things Grant said when Dad tried to kill her was, "When I'm 6'4", you will not be able to do this anymore." I have always thought about that so much. Grant meant that, and he was scared and so hurt by his dad. That is just awful, and Grant was so young. Dad is controlling in many ways. One way was by giving Indian sunburns and telling him that he would always have control over Grant. Dad would just scream at Grant, like I could hear it from everywhere in the house. It was awful. One time Grant and I were watching TV together, and all of a sudden Dad comes up and grabs Grant by his shirt, pulls him up, and just yells at him in his face. It was so bad to watch. Dad would get into Grant's head so much. He would limit food and call him fat, criticize him just to the point where Grant would feel so awful. Dad would limit the time Grant had in the bathroom, on his phone, etc. But why the bathroom? Dad would keep our phones in his bathroom, which is locked, in his bedroom that is also locked. Dad never wanted Grant to be around Hannah, his girlfriend, or any of his friends. My dad even kept college letters and threw away some of the ones he didn't like. One of those multiple could have been what Grant wanted. Dad only wanted him to go to Ivy League schools. Dad also used Grant's truck as a way to control him too. Grant was so scared of him. He would apologize so much that if he did anything wrong, like if he was late to hit or if he was too sick, he was scared Dad would get mad. Even if he missed a day of school, the whole rest of the time he was worried about Dad. The day my dad took us, Grant tried to get out of the car to jump out to get back to Mom. When he tried, Dad grabbed Grant's wrist so tight, Grant thought it broke. And recently still, I would notice Grant touching that same wrist. Grant had a plan to run away with me, so we did. We got a few things together and went to our mom's house. Dad is and was an awful dad to Grant. I would never want Grant to even have to know somebody like him, and I'm happy for Grant, because he will never have to deal with him ever again. Dad would take any or all of his anger out on Grant, anger outburst. He made Grant train all the time and never had a break, and visit lots of schools. Dad would stalk Grant and come to every single practice, training, tryouts, just literally about anything. Grant was even scared enough to open up to Pastor Steve about help for our family, Grant, Mom, and I. Pastor Steve and Dad lied and said Grant wanted to talk about his faith and strengthening his faith. That was said during the funeral, even though Mom and I have always known he went for help because he told us. Grant was my protector and my mom's. I didn't realize how much he protected us. However, now that he is gone, my dad is attacking me again. One of Grant's great friends told me that Grant had plans to reopen and testify for me and him again in court as an adult. A month after his 18th birthday, he had mysteriously died. I want my dad gone. This was from November 24th, 2020. I want zero contact with him, mail, text, in person, etc. Every time he contacts me, I can't get over it, and my focus in school and out is always disrupted because of all his texts and mail. I don't want him at school or games. I get so scared when he's around, and I feel trapped. I can't even go get a drink or go to see a friend or anything because he's right there on the bottom row. On November 19th, there was a basketball game. He got to the girls' game an hour early and was filming them, as well as almost coming in contact with me, at least 10 feet away and coming. By sneaking out, then the police left because they thought he was gone. So then my dad came back into the gym, and that's when he almost approached me. The school has forced me to go with him before, and I do not need him there. It's terrifying. I know what he's capable of, and that is what scares me. He has traumatized me, and I don't want it to be like this anymore. He needs to stop. Sometimes I'll even check behind curtains downstairs because I think he is there. He has violated the restraining order countless times. I'm not even going to the games anymore to see my brother be honored because of him, and it's not fair. I want custody completely flipped to my mom. She will show her medical records that she is clearly not mentally ill. She has never gotten to show those in court. It's all just lies. I want no contact, period. He makes everything so hard, and it's so scary, and someone needs to stop him. I need an order of protection. I've tried to get one with the sheriff's department, even though he will just break it. I really need someone to do something. I need my own attorney. My guardian ad litem isn't even talking to me, and and she's doing things and saying things that I disagree with. No one in this court has listened to me or Grant, and that is why he is gone. So please, I really need someone to listen to me. This is from October 21st, 2020. Ever since Grant, my brother, passed 3 months ago yesterday, my dad, Aaron Solomon, has been stalking us and just coming at us by throwing away and forgetting about boundaries I had set. I set boundaries for myself a while back, and he pretty much went by those for almost 2 years. But why when Grant died, he came after me. He literally just entered himself into our home and was hugging me and playing with my hair. I hated when he did that. It makes me gag, and it makes me think of the things that he has done to me. Soon after, he said that he was coming to get me. He has taken me away from my mom multiple times, and he has used the police to take me. It scared me so bad. He hasn't left me alone, and he has even contacted my friends and close people by sending videos of them. He even filmed up the homecoming court's dresses. It makes me sick seeing him or talking about him. It's so messed up. We recently got a restraining order put in place, but he has been violating it a lot. He isn't supposed to contact me, but he has been. He is coming to school a lot, and it scares me so much. I haven't been able to go to school because of how scared I am of him. What makes me even more scared is that I've witnessed how mad he gets, and when he's mad, I know he's really mad. I know he killed my brother, and now I'm scared of him coming near me or coming to get me again, or hurt any of us.
So next episode, we will get deeper into Grant's death. We will
go over exactly what the accounts from different people are, what, if any, evidence or accounts that there are.
We'll
and
go
then
into,
obviously what makes sense and what doesn't make sense.
Right. We'll go into the 911 call. You'll be able to hear the 911 call from Aaron. He was the only witness of this.
Yep.
We'll go into
more about Grant's timeline as far as certain abuse and different things he dealt with from a standpoint of trying to protect his sister and his mom. And
I
then
love him.
Yeah. No,
Grant,
straight up.
I want to hug him. I want to kiss him. He seems like such a good boy.
Yes.
Just like trying to get out of it, trying to protect.
You know, it's so hard for kids when things like this go on and they have to become an adult so fast. Especially when it's your sister and your mom and your dad. Like, can you imagine?
No.
And he was so wise. He was such a protector. Like,
yeah, he seems wise beyond his years.
Like fearless too, though.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Just that's special. Like, he had a level of, I don't care what happens to me, but this isn't going to continue to happen in front of me type of thing.
He was literally willing to die. And unfortunately, in his case, he did. But I think that gives us so much more reason to do this.
An understanding of the level of commitment he had to
his family.
Yes. Like, man. What a kid.
What a kid.
Seriously. Like, that's
it's a lot.
I know grown people
who won't do that.
Yeah, who don't have that kind of like know about, whereabout, commitment,
tenacity, confidence to do that.
Yep.
So I think this is a perfect time to mention that Grant has a GoFundMe. They are trying to reopen this case when it comes to Grant and when it comes to Gracie.
That's going to require a lot of investigating on all kinds of different levels.
So please visit their GoFundMe. It's going to be in the link in the comments.
There's a Facebook page.
Right.
All kinds of different things. So we're going to add those links just down below and then
share this as much as you can.
Yes,
get it out there.
Talk about it, share about it, everything about it, because there's clearly control in the hands of people that don't, that aren't looking for justice on this. So we all need, especially Angie and Gracie, need all the help that they can get to at least investigate and try to find some sort of justice for Grant.
And freedom for Gracie. And that's what their Facebook pages are. They're Justice for Grant, Freedom for Gracie.
Mhm.
So just look those up on Facebook, and we'll link them below. But tomorrow, tune in. We'll have another episode. We're going to get more in depth into this case.
And again, if you know something or if you've heard something, even hearsay, any information at all regarding anyone involved with this, you can literally email us or message us anonymously. Whatever you have to do, just find a way to
It feels better.
contact us. We can leave you completely anonymous.
Feels better to just get it off your chest.
Yeah.
Whether you think it may be relevant or not, it may be relevant or not to the right people, and they can look into it and investigate it more.
It can also
and
help
talk
with
about
timelines too.
Exactly.
Okay.
I'm exhausted.
Me too. We'll be back tomorrow.
This is the Expired Podcast.
Bye.
Tune in tomorrow for the final episode of The Solomon Family.